There are people who wake up and already start the day saying, "I'm tired, it will be a rush, only Monday again," and then wonder why nothing changes. The truth is that most people are programming their own failure before they even brush their teeth. This may sound strong, but it's real. What you say in the first few minutes of the morning is silently shaping your destiny. What if I told you that there are 5 specific phrases that, when spoken upon awakening, reprogram your brain for success, prosperity, and inner peace, and more? This is based on the teachings of Louise Hay and validated by principles of FISICAAQUANTICA and law of attraction. These phrases are not just beautiful words to put in an Instagram post. They function as direct commands for your subconscious, which at this moment, right when you wake up, is more open and receptive. It is like a secret password for quantum field. And who knows how to use this password begins to attract opportunities, answers, money, and even unexpected solutions. The best? This takes less than 3 minutes and can completely change the vibe of your day. And if you think this is cheap mysticism, then maybe that's exactly why things still don't flow as they should. Today, you will understand why spiritual millionaires wake up talking differently. So, if you are stuck in a heavy routine, living in automatic mode, and feeling that life is pushing you instead of you driving it, this video is your turning point. Prepare to learn phrases that will transform not only your day, but your mind, your energy field, and your results. You don't have to understand everything right now, but you need to be open. Because anyone who comes to this type of content never arrives by chance. And if you are here, it is because the universe has already started to answer you. But before talking about what these phrases are, you need to understand why the moment of awakening is the most powerful gap that exists. When you open your eyes, even before thinking about coffee or touching the phone, the brain is still immersed in theta and alpha waves, a state of pure receptivity where the subconscious absorbs like a sponge every word, feeling, and intention. It is in this sacred moment that reality begins to be shaped. Who understands this? Understand that the way the day begins is not detail. It is destiny. The words said in the first minutes when waking not only reflect what we think, but determine what we will live. It is like planting seeds in the most fertile soil of the mind. And it is on this soil that the quantum field begins to respond to what you vibrate. Imagine someone who wakes up mumbling, "Whoa, what a lazy another hard day." These words, seemingly harmless, tune the mind with low frequencies and open space for the subconscious to look for difficulties and find. Now change it for something like, "Today will be a magical day full of abundance and good surprises." Seems too simple? Because that's exactly why it works. The law of attraction does not operate by logic, but by frequency. Frequency is a direct result of the words you use, especially when you are still between dreaming and waking, in that almost magical transition of awakening. The great secret is in consciousness, to realize that the brain in this hypnagogic state is like an open source code. Everything that is inserted there will be processed with priority. That is why ancient traditions always included waking prayers and positive affirmations in the morning. It wasn't just mysticism. It was a clever way to reprogram the mind. FISICAAQUANTICA today proves that observation changes matter. If you observe the day with eyes of hope, the particles of reality organize themselves to materialize this hope. This is not utopia. It's neuroscience with a touch of practical spirituality. Anyone who wants more money, more health, more peace, or a new version of himself needs to start the day as a mental architect. The invisible architecture of words builds the visible of events. By repeating affirmations just as you wake up, you intentionally plant what you want to harvest. And it doesn't matter if yesterday was chaos. The brain is not stuck in the past. It is ready to receive a new direction. The expansion of consciousness starts right here, the instant you take charge of what you think before you even get out of bed. And as much as it sounds subtle, it is in this exact detail that the largest quantum jumps live. We are not just talking about self-help, but energy strategy aligned with the natural functioning of the mind and the universe. The bridge between spiritual and material is built with words, intentions, and emotions. And it all starts in the first few minutes of the day. Who masters this beginning, masters the rest. But there are more than words involved in this. There are specific phrases, almost like reprogramming codes, that act directly on the subconscious mind. And it is precisely about them that we will talk now. The first sentence, "I love myself and approve myself," may seem simple, but it carries an almost revolutionary power. How many times a day does one judge, compare, or blame oneself in silence? This kind of self-criticism, even disguised as a demand, is eroding self-esteem and sabotaging the manifestations of abundance in the quantum field. When someone declares love and approval for himself, he is mentally canceling all the internal messages of rejection that have been repeated for years. This statement not only heals the past, but activates a new version of identity, one that feels worthy of love, respect, and money without having to beg for them. The second sentence, "Everything I need to know is revealed to me," works as an unlocker of intuition. It activates a confidence frequency in the flow of life and dissolves the anxiety of wanting to control everything. Many people make decisions in fear and live insecure because they do not trust their own perception. But who repeats this phrase daily is tuning the antenna of inner wisdom. It is like opening a direct channel with the quantum field, where the answers already exist, waiting for a conscious receptacle. Has it ever happened to you that you think of something and, a short time later, the answer comes in the form of coincidence? It was not chance, it was harmony.
The third sentence, "I am worthy, of all that is good," breaks one of the deepest limiting beliefs, that you have to suffer to be worth. This idea is an emotional poison inherited for generations. When someone claims their merit, they are saying to the universe, "I am ready." And the universe responds, because the law of attraction does not question whether you are good enough. It only responds to your vibration. This kind of statement, when made with truth, activates the reception.
And here's a practical example. When receiving a compliment, accept it with a thank you, without minimizing. This is a subtle way to practice the merit and anchor the scent. The phrase, "Today will be an incredible day full of opportunities," works as a command for the brain to activate the so-called reticular system, the same system responsible for making you notice cars like yours after you buy one. That is, it filters and highlights what is aligned to your attention. When you plant this idea on waking, your brain starts to look for micro-opportunities everywhere, a conversation, an email, an unexpected message. This, added to the consciousness of FISICAAQUANTICA, shows that reality is projection of the observer. Soon, when you expect the best begins to have energetic permission to happen. Finally, prosperity flows into my life in unexpected ways, opens the mind so that money and plenty does not come only from predictable sources like wages or sales. This phrase removes the mental block that limits prosperity to safe ways, allowing quantum field to bring unexpected gains, as a gift, an invitation, an idea that becomes a business. A classic example? People who find $50 forgotten in an old pocket. Coincidence? No. It's the universe saying, "You allowed." These phrases, more than words, are frequency maps that access new possibilities. And the magic happens even when the world seems to be the same. But your mind is not anymore. Repetition without emotion is like trying to light a fire with wet wood. It doesn't work. What gives life to the statements is the feeling you inject into them. It's not enough to say, "I am abundant," like reading a grocery list. You need to feel this abundance in the body, even if the bank account says otherwise. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish what is real from what is vividly imagined. So, as you repeat your sentences, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine the scene happening. You with the key to the new home, the notification of money coming in, the embrace that represents a restart. It is in this field of emotion that the quantum field begins to respond. Now take this ritual in front of the mirror. That's right. Speak looking into your own eyes. Does it sound silly? Because know that the greatest experts in FISICAAQUANTICA and mental reprogramming defend this habit. When you face yourself firmly and repeat the statements, you are not just telling the universe. You are telling yourself that you believe, and that makes all the difference. Many avoid the mirror because they do not want to face the version they created. But it is there, in this silent confrontation, that the new version begins. One that assumes its own narrative. Who has the courage to face, has the courage to transform. Writing the statements for 21 days is more than a challenge of constancy. It's a neural restructuring. When you write, a different process is activated than just mentally repeat. The brain records with more depth, as if it leaves footprints inside the subconscious. A good exercise is to have a specific notebook, such as a manifestation diary. Put the date, write the sentence, and describe how you feel about it. This not only reinforces the vibration, but creates an emotional history of your expansion of consciousness. In a few weeks, the change of perception begins to appear without effort. You catch yourself acting different, talking differently, and attracting different. Another way to activate even more power in affirmations is to associate them with concrete actions. For example, when saying, "I am worthy of all that is good," how about present yourself with something simple that represents this? It can be a relaxing bath with aromatic candles, a walk in the late afternoon, or even invest in a course that you have always postponed. When the brain perceives a coherence between what you say and what you do, it understands that it is real. And when this happens, the universe, governed by the law of attraction, enters into alignment with your new vibration. It is action aligned to intention, and in this game, there is no way to lose. And if at some point the world collapses, because yes, sometimes it does, remember that these phrases are not only for good days. They are anchors in the midst of chaos. Repeating them when everything seems difficult is like lighting a lantern in darkness. A practical example. In the middle of a financial problem, repeat, "Prosperity flows into my life in unexpected ways," with even more firmness. This is not denial of reality, it is construction of a new reality. Because while many drown in despair, who dominates the power of words plants new possibilities even in storms. And when you learn to do this, you begin to understand a secret that millionaires know well. There is a stark difference between repeating a sentence and activating an emotional state. And that's exactly what many millionaires do without divulging, the emotional anchoring technique. It is about associating a physical gesture, like pressing two fingers, touching the wrist or putting the hand on the chest, with a powerful vibrational state. Imagine this as creating an energetic shortcut to access, at any time, that sense of security, conquest, merit. When you repeat an emotion-laden statement and make a physical gesture at the same time, the brain records this combination as a direct access code to the quantum field. The secret lies in conscious repetition. You may, for example, when saying, "I am worthy, of all that is good," gently press your thumb and middle finger together as you imagine a rain of abundance falling on your life. Repeat this for a few days. Over time, it will be enough to repeat the gesture, even without saying anything, so that that particular emotion comes back to the surface. It is like having an invisible button that activates the ideal vibration to manifest money, love, health, or any other frequency desired. It is not magic. It is neuroscience and FISICAAQUANTICA acting in synergy with your awakened consciousness. The biggest names in personal development and behavioral psychology use anchors in high-impact training, but you don't need to be at a millionaire event to trigger your own emotional trigger. The hint is simple and powerful. Choose a gesture, an intense positive emotion, and an affirmation aligned with your new version. Now repeat this every day, always connecting the gesture with emotion and phrase. Over time, this becomes automatic. And when a difficult situation comes, you will realize that just press that button and something changes inside of you. A state of calm, strength, clarity, or even courage is installed. And all this begins from a simple gesture. If you apply this with discipline, it will not take long to notice that your results change. Not only because you are more positive, but because you are operating in another vibrational pattern. When the law of attraction perceives consistency, it delivers consistency. And the best, you have control over your inner state, regardless of what happens outside. This is one of the keys that differentiates those who live from emotional reactions of those who create their reality with intention. But for those who still like evidence, the numbers also reveal hidden truths, and that's what the next topic will unveil. The mind loves numbers because they bring structure and clarity to what once seemed abstract. And when we talk about mental reprogramming, it is no different. There is a strategic reason to choose exactly 5 transformative phrases. The number 5 is associated with change, dynamism, and expansion. And in this context, it represents a lean and effective package for reconfiguring subconscious patterns. 5 sentences are enough to cover self-esteem, intuition, merit, positivity, and prosperity. Each of them acts as an access point in the quantum field, activating specific areas of being that were asleep. 5 phrases, 5 keys, 5 portals towards the new version. The number 21 is also not random. It represents the minimum neural reprogramming cycle. It is the time needed for the brain to start undoing an old connection and creating a new one. When someone writes or repeats a sentence for 21 consecutive days, they're not just creating a habit. They're redesigning their internal architecture. It's like reformatting an old operating system to run a new, updated, and much more compatible abundance frequency. And do you know what happens at the end of this cycle? The law of attraction stops being something external and begins to operate from within. You stop trying to attract and start emanating. And then comes the emotional anchor technique, which seems complex but comes down to 4 steps that anyone can follow. Choose a physical gesture. Connect to a powerful emotion, repeat with an affirmation, and practice often. Only 4 steps that together activate a direct command in the subconscious. And here is the most fascinating point. These commands, once programmed, continue to act even without you thinking about them. It is like setting an internal alarm clock to tune with money, with clarity, with peace. And the best, this process is silent, invisible, but deeply transformative. Finally, perhaps the most impactful data. The human brain processes billions of information per second. Billions. It captures visual, auditory, emotional, and even energetic signals, many of which you don't even consciously notice. Then imagine the impact of repeating powerful phrases early in the morning, when that brain is still vulnerable and malleable. Each word, each statement, each gesture creates a new synapse, a new command. And in this subtle space between the invisible and the tangible, the quantum field begins to reorganize the possibilities of your life. And who understands this already starts the day as a spiritual millionaire, ready to write his own reality. And now that you know the basics, it's time to dive into the essence of this practice. But first, let's have a real talk. Now that you know the power of these 5 phrases, the question is, will you continue to start the days in automatic mode, or will you take over your reality? There is no point in watching this video and returning to the same routine. True transformation requires practice, intention, and presence. Then, from tomorrow, before you touch your phone, try repeating these statements with emotion, in front of the mirror, or with eyes closed, feeling each word as if it is already reality. Remember, your brain does not distinguish between the real and the intensely imagined. It is you who commands this. And tell me, Do you really believe that you were born to live on autopilot, complaining about work, money, life? Or is it time to assume that it is worthy, A, of a new version, aligned with the abundance, the money, and everything that the quantum field can deliver? Because honestly, if you don't change the way you talk to yourself, nothing around you will change. The law of attraction does not fail. It only replicates what you vibrate. And now you already have the tools to vibrate differently, think differently, to live differently. And I want to know, which of these phrases touched you the most? Which one will be your anchor in the next 21 days? Comment below, share your intention, and let's create a collective field of manifestation together. And if this content made sense to you, subscribe to the channel. Activate the bell and do not miss the next videos, because this is just the beginning. In the next, we will go deeper into FISICAAQUANTICA, expansion of consciousness, and hidden codes of prosperity. Your new life starts with a new word, and you just took the first step.